The Dene, when they encountered an Anasazi man way back in our past history that they called Nehelsba. Most of the stories that are told about that individual is that the Anasazi man was winning Dene, and they would gamble with him, and if they lost, then they would then become his slave. And so it began with one man that he decided he wanted to free some of the slaves that were held by the Anasazi. And so he went over there with some of his possessions, and he challenged Nehelsba, and he said, I will gamble with you. If I win, I want to have those slaves freed. And so they begin the game. But he didn't know that Nehelsba was a man of not great character, that he was cheating. And he would rig the games. And so anybody that challenged him in a game of chance, they would lose. And so that's what's happened. And it became such a serious thing that the man pretty soon gambled off his family and gambled off his relatives, and gambled off all his belongings. And he, I like the order of that. And he kept losing and losing. And finally, he put himself up and he lost. And so there were hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people that were won in the game. But the story here, it's about the extent of what the all of us people understand to that point is that there was one very young, good man that was from the Dene, and he was the one that was selected, especially because he would be able to work with the birds and the animals and other creatures. They would help him. He also had a very beautiful wife, and they asked him to go and challenge Nehelsba. So he went and he challenged him. And through his special abilities and his special skills, he was able to win back all of the Dene that had been put into slavery. And there were many of them that had been gambled off. But he kept going. And he won the Nehelsba's people. He pretty much took everything that Nehelsba had taken in his rigged games. And pretty soon the Anasazi had nothing. I'm Acadia Einstein, and this is Strangeful Things.
Sheltering in places not advised, as your survival cannot be ensured in that scenario.
Love has practically caused me to just get you destroyed.
Unsolved, unresolved, and super complicated.
Strangeful Things.
Welcome, everybody, to Strangeful Things. I'm Acadia Einstein here with Shuey. Hi, Shuey.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, quite a bit. We're still in the thick of Native American Heritage Month, and we are continuing with our story of the Anasazi. And if you missed episode 1, where we went through a great deal of thought about what to call these folks, because the name is very much in dispute, we went with Anasazi because most people know them by that name, right or wrong, and there's no way to call these people anything that's not going to make somebody else legitimately pissed. So we had to go with something. That said, since this is Strangeful Things, we are guaranteeing you some entertainment, and you're going to learn stuff, and you're going to find out what's new and good with Shuey this week, which is really why you all come. Statistics show that after you're done with new and good, a lot of people turn the show off.
Yes. I was going to go with there are still a few listeners, but a lot of people turn it off. I guess you could go that route. It just sounds
I know
negative.
one of them is probably your mom, because after she hears that something's good, she's like, damn it.
or we've already spent 10 minutes bitching about my family.
Yeah, that's true,
but,
too.
Speaking of family, my new and good is that my girls are driving here right now from Alabama for Thanksgiving, which I believe next week's episode is a celebration of the first Thanksgiving. Wasn't that what you wanted to do?
That was so far the
real
opposite.
Story of the heroic pilgrims.
Oh, my God. I cannot imagine a story I would want to fucking do less. Although,
But Miles Standish.
it might be fun to do the real Thanksgiving. I just don't know how long of a story it would be. And I still kind of want to do that other one we talked about when we were in the story meeting about the battles. So I still might throw that one in. Last year was the potpourri Thanksgiving where all the old hosts came back.
Yeah, that was the all your former hosts.
Yeah.
Co-hosts. So I'm just really excited that I'm my family's going to be whole for a few days, and I'm pretty psyched.
Well, all right. My new and good is I went with Mrs. Ack to go pick out her glasses, and we found them quickly and efficiently.
Wow, that is good.
Yeah, no, it was good. They're a good pair. Glasses cost a lot. I'm new to glasses.
Glasses are super expensive.
I got mine from Amerilens, which is not a place. It's America's Best. It's right by
America's Best, pretty big.
Yeah, I like Amerilens it's a better name.
Yeah,
but what are you gonna do? And I'm supposed to wear them all the time, and I've already lost them, and I've only had them for 2 days.
That's great.
Oh, and I got my COVID booster and my first shingles shot.
So for the COVID, did you get the same or different?
I think I got all the same.
All right.
I think I got the triple scoop. And then today I got a flu shot.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, we have to weigh you." I'm like, "Don't fucking weigh me now. You jam me full of stuff."
You don't need to weigh me.
Yeah, I'm all jammed full of shit now. I don't know what you put in me. Could have been shoe
Yeah, I'm
goo.
sure that would make a big difference.
Fucking, you know what? I don't like to usually go the old crapper route on the show, but I do want people
Sometimes
to stop.
Just can't help it.
Fucking complaining about things, because number one, when we first had to use Microsoft Word, the fonts were not written in the fonts that they were. So
right. You had to look it up and then click and then have it actually change and then go back and pick the next one on the list.
So that was bullshit. And then also our cheap ass mothers, instead of buying us new sneakers, bought some weird rubber cement called shoe goo, which was supposed to like fix the sneakers. So
like if you put it this way, like, you know how whenever anything gets kind of wrecked or gets anything wrong with it, now you throw it out.
Yeah.
Like that's never what you did until like the last 20 years. Like you always tried to fix everything. Like
planned obsolescence.
With shit like shoe goo.
I just looked it up. They're selling shoe goo on Amazon right now.
People used to actually sew socks instead of buying a new one.
Yeah, whatever. I'm sorry, crazy. Amazon, you're out of luck because my mother's dead. So your shoe goo is going to go unpurchased. So we're going to get back on the track now. If you just listened to the last episode because you're binging in the future or binging now, I don't know. I'm not judging you. Do whatever you want. Or once you found out that there was a part 2 that you decided to wait, we got done talking about how in what's now the Four Corners area of the United States, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, there were amazing settlements. And they weren't just settlements, they were cities built in this place called Chaco Canyon and some other places. And the people that were there were incredibly sophisticated and not in the bar is lower because they were North American way. They knew how to do a bunch of shit. They didn't have any smelting techniques or anything like that, but I've done a...
Did they wear puffy wigs?
No. Well, there's no way to tell. Technically, the puffy wigs would have disintegrated by now. So, but they built this big, giant place. And the spoiler alert on this, since you've never met an actual Anasazi, although you may have met one of the 4 tribes that are considered the Pueblo Indians. These Native Americans got the Pueblo name from the Spanish, so what the fuck ever, fucking white people. Anyways, to build this place took centuries. They kept expanding it, but they kept the original spirit of the place while they were doing it. And there were people that thought from time to time that this must be an egalitarian society, because everybody was getting along really well and everything like this. But then they were like, well, no, that didn't make any sense, because if you have somebody whose job it is to carry rocks around all day, and your job is to not carry rocks around all day, the egalitarian part sort of goes out the window.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. So they also found that there were really, really big houses in some areas, and then there were kind of littler, shitty houses in other areas, which sort of meant that there was a class system. So there was some kind of...
Well, why wouldn't there be?
Yeah,
there's always been.
Exactly. Right? Some kind of social hierarchy going on. So now what they figure is that some of the people who were in charge were, of course, the priests, because anyone that can make up a story about something that occurs naturally, as long as they, so this is the kind of wild part about this is that the initial anger that everybody always feels when the first person that goes, no, I know what's really going on. You better talk to me and keep me alive and not make me carry any rocks around, because I'll give you the straight dope.
I'll give you the scoop. I'll tell you how to live forever.
Exactly. It wasn't just the priests. They were also astronomers, because in one area of Chaco Canyon, there's a butte overlooking it. Butte is a great word. There's a thing called the Sun Dagger. And these are 3 big sandstone slabs that when the sunlight goes through them, they turn into, it's not a shadow. It's not like the snake up the side of Chichen Itza. It's actually the sun part that goes through that looks like a dagger. It's 2 spirals. One is principal and one is the ancillary one. And it basically marks the solstice.
All right. Who isn't marking the solstice,
And we've talked about this a bunch of times, the A not having anything else to do. But in one of the documentaries that I watched, the guy had a really good point. If you don't know how time works and the seasons work, you're going to die if you're farmers.
Yeah.
If you're hunter-gatherers, it kind of doesn't matter that much. Unless you're, because the animals are smart enough to, well, it's going to snow, so we better walk somewhere where there's, not snow. If you're following them, then they're leading you where you got to go. But once you have to stop, then it becomes a much bigger deal. And those people, the people that would go, oh yeah, no, this is when we should plant stuff, because the gods told me, as opposed to, well, I just looked in the sky and I can count.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They didn't want to, they were being super humble. They said God did it because they didn't want to admit that they had done it themselves. They didn't want to take
the credit for it. It's like I guess, parents with Santa.
Yep. But the other part of that is, now that I think about it, so was religion just made up by smart people who went, well, fuck, if they know that I figured this out on my own, then they might figure that they could figure it out on their own.
Dude, who do you think's still running it?
Or even worse,
it's the same dynamic running it today.
Right, but the thing is, it assumed, no, because now it's dumb people. It's dumb, like,
no, but not the people running it.
No. I know, but so what I'm saying is, is that now when guys are walking around going, well, put $50 in my pocket and I'll smack you in the forehead and drive a demon out of your asshole. That's
I've had that. That is so cleansing.
He's smart, but he's just smart enough to surround himself with people that he can trick,
that he can abuse. Yeah.
The people back then that were like, well, fuck, this is how seasons work, and the same thing happens every year.
Yeah.
They had to jump on the whole, no, it's a god doing it, and you better listen to me because I'm the one talking to him, to dissuade other people from going, well, no, wait a minute, I've been writing this shit down too, and it's not heretic. And you know what I mean? Like, and then they just kill it.
Yeah, I get what you say. Right.
So,
because it wasn't like now where there's enough to go around.
Exactly. So, anyway, you can go and see the Sun Dagger kind of now. There's also some petroglyphs. There's a rattlesnake and some spirals and a rectangle. No one knows what the fuck they mean. One person thinks it means they drew a picture of a supernova that actually occurred back then. But anyway, you can't see it as well as you used to be able to see it because they figured out in 1989 that people walking around it, and it was like it was a protected area. It wasn't like people were climbing on it, like dangling their dick over the aperture. So, look, the Sun Dagger has my dick in it.
Dude, look, I can stick this right through the...
Exactly. But just by virtue of the fact that lots of people walking on it, it eroded it, and one of the things shifted, and so they blocked it all off, and they never put the one that was crooked back. They were like, nah, because if we start fucking with it, it's the kind of it's like when you start to fishtail in a racing game. You know what I mean? Like you go a little one way and then you go too far the other way and whatever like that, and it goes all to hell. So these people that built these giant structures, let me remind you, if you jumped in and didn't listen to part one, shame on you. But we're talking about people that built.
Wacky way to do it.
Yep, that's wacky. Giant buildings covering acres and acres and acres, some 5 stories high, impeccably created. And it wasn't just that they were constructed well. There was actually decorative stone used within the walls themselves, stuff that you would see in sort of medieval castles. And I'm not going on a castle tangent, but I did watch a lot of castle stuff this week for another upcoming episode. Yeah, so I was learning a lot about castles and learning a lot about that English guy Longshanks, who he built a fuck ton of castles, and they're all really neat. But they're like, oh, it took him 2 years to build the castle and everything. And I don't understand why his enemies were so patient. Well, let's go fucking attack the guys building the castle. They're not fighters. They're just... No, we got to give him a sporting chance. We'll wait till he
give him a chance.
Builds his big impregnable fucking fortress, and then we'll go and die over there.
Then we'll attack him with sticks.
Fucking dummies. So another thing in Chaco, turquoise was very important to the people of Chaco Canyon. Much like it is for people that wear bolo ties and cowboy hats today. They found around 200,000 pieces in the ruins of Chaco Canyon, and they have actually found workshops for somebody's job was making turquoise beads. And we talked last week about how it was obviously a center of trade and everything like that, but
right.
They also were used in burial ceremonies, and there were 2 burials at Pueblo Bonito, which is a big part of the Chaco Canyon complex, where over 15,000 turquoise beads and pendants were found. Oof. Like they buried them. Fuck, good they were gonna do. I don't know. What the fuck people know. Not gonna fault anybody. You know what I mean? Like it's everybody's idea of what happens after you die is equally right and equally wrong. So we'll find out.
All Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah. We'll either find out or we won't. So in the 1920s, since this other guy, Judd, because remember the old cowboy guy got shot over a goat.
Judd.
But Judd had done a bunch of work, and then they had all pretty much come to the realization that Chaco Canyon was the hub of the Anasazi civilization in the Four Corners region, because of course it was. But then in 1974, and this, I didn't fucking tell you this in the pre
1974.
Story. Yeah, in 1974. A million ghosts. In 1974, they took infrared satellite pictures above the whole area. Now, I don't know if they did it or if they were just taking infrared pictures of everything, but they found a really gigantic and sophisticated system of roads radiating out from Chaco. They linked at least 75 other settlements. Over 40,000 square miles.
Wow.
Now, you might think, well, that's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Big fucking deal. Because the Romans built roads 1,000 years before that. And they invented pizza and other things. Well, the Anasazi built these roads when they did not have pack animals, nor did they have the wheel. So think about that.
Where did they get the wheel?
Well, they never did.
Well, not the Anasazi, but I meant Native Americans.
I would assume it would have had to have been when the Europeans got here, because they didn't need it. So, they were fine. It wasn't like they were all like, oh no, help us. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there was, like, you know who also doesn't have the wheel? Those fucking awesome people on North Sentinel Island that just kill everyone that comes near them with arrows.
Oh, yeah. Those people.
They don't need no wheels. Just fucking and killing. That's their day to day. So, the roads were 30 feet wide and actually sort of paved with adobe. And everybody was like, what the hell did they need this shit for? And
was that for their alien overlords?
Well, fucking alien. I'm going to give you another fucking thing that's going to blow your mind. Remember in Lord of the Rings when Gondor had to ask Rohan for help?
Yes.
And even though they had wizards, they didn't have, like, phones.
Right.
And they did. You can make a strong fucking case that Gandalf was not so much a wizard as a fighter who knew some spells. Because he used his sword an awful lot. Anyway, except when he was fighting other wizards. Anyways.
Anyhow.
You pointed out the fire thing. Anasazi had it along their great roads. So some poor fucker's job was to sit around the fire. Apparently he could never go to sleep. I don't know, or there had to be two of them. Like,
I'm sure they had shifts.
Well, yeah, but this would be like like you're on the fucking turnpike.
Yeah,
sitting next to a fire,
like a rest stop. It's like it's like those call boxes and stuff, but it's a guy.
Yeah, but
you're like, dude, I got a flat sandal over here. Yeah, and then he runs to the town and gets some help.
Can you imagine the fucking pressure? Like, what if the guy in charge on one side of the fires was like, all right, look, I gotta fucking take the weekend off. My family is bitching at me, so you're in charge, Ricky. So if it happens, light the fire. All right. And then everything will be fine. And then he leaves and Ricky's like, if what happens? Fuck. Is it something good or something bad? Like, and he has no idea. And he can't go get his boss because his boss went to the lake. Oh, that'd be pressure. So
Well, I would assume that if you saw a series of fires being lit, and then the one closest to you is lit, that maybe you'd be like, "Oh, okay, all right."
I mean, we could use the
I get
Frankenstein method. Yeah, but if he was in the town and he started it, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
if he
then,
was on
yeah.
the starting end, then he'd be in trouble.
Oh, if he's like, yeah, because right,
Everything is fine.
unless
Start
everybody
the
was
fire.
like, "Start the fire!"
Yeah, exactly.
Start the fire.
That's fascinating. So
That is fascinating.
there's obviously some ritual involved in all this stuff, because they built the Sun Dagger and everything like that, and that would have also probably entailed some guy climbing up there every morning to go, well, it's not in the right place, so we're fine, so, but that's the other part of it. If you were going to do one of those things, wouldn't you figure out when it was the solstice and draw like an outline and then say, okay, when it fills in this outline? Because it's not like in a lot of these structures, the light only lines up when it's the right time of year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah.
I don't know. Whatever it was, they had it. They had it figured out. But then all of a sudden, scientists had to go thinking about things, and it got weird. And it's still weird to this day. See, in 1150, Chaco was like, fuck it, wrap it up. Like, dunzo.
Finish shooting.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, it's a wrap.
Everybody fucking left. And there are obviously a bunch of theories about this, linked both to its rise and its collapse. And one of them is weather. Because in the 11th century, it was rainy as shit in a good way. And all over the world, people were like, well, fuck, we have all this food. Everything's growing like gangbusters because we have all this water. So let's do some other shit. You know what I mean? So over this pretty extended period, people started shit in China, in Mexico, in Europe. Everybody started going, well, fuck, this is the best. Let's do this, and we'll build all sorts of shit.
Right.
That's a huge, huge thing. Except then the roof caved in because around this 1150 time period, there was a thing called the Little Ice Age. And the Little Ice Age stopped that rain shit dead in its tracks. So if you're in France or China or Mexico and you have a drought, you're like, well, this sucks. And some people die and everything like that, but you get past it. But if you live in the desert and it stops raining, you're kind of fucked. Because the whole desert thing, and there are people that believe that Chaco got abandoned because they had to go looking for where the water was. That
is it. How far is it from like any major rivers or anything like that?
Well, see, that's the weird part. They didn't go somewhere where there was a wizard. They didn't make like Chaco Jr. someplace else. The next places they were seen were the Gulch in Utah and Mesa Verde in California and Colorado, rather, not California, in Colorado. And those were the ones that were more like forts. They were built on the sides of the cliffs.
Right.
So then there's another idea that Chaco fell apart because of a crisis of faith, which is 100% tied to the drought. Because if you have been conditioned to believe that your holy people are the ones that are keeping the fucking gravy train running and it stops, then they're like, well, fuck this guy then. He didn't know what he's talking about. Which I kind of don't buy.
Right.
Because I don't believe that. And my example for this is now. Fucking look around. Why? But every single person that really, really believes in their religion has a million fucking reasons why. Oh, yeah, well, I know everything is shitty, like, if you look at it, but in reality, it's really not. You know what I mean? Like, it's.
And then the promise of something we can never prove
exactly
keeps me going.
But so I feel like if you're really, really, really faithful, whatever you're faithful to,
and you've added 1,000 years of Western and Eastern science to that knowledge, and you still have people that are still saying the world is 6,000 years old, blah blah blah.
Like I don't believe that all of a sudden all these people that have been living fucking great all of a sudden turned into that Eric Idle in the Holy Grail sitting in the mud going, oh, I vote for you. You know what I mean? Like that one like, super cynical guy. Oh, yeah, people throwing soul
needs to come from
like so.
Toss distributing swords. No basis for its means of government.
I don't buy it. Plus, so and the other thing that I'm gonna put on top of this is that the next theory is gonna interfere with this crisis of faith theory as well. But the on its face, if you said, well, you know, the whole reason we've been doing this dumb religion is because this awesome religion is because it's been raining, but now that has all dried up, literally and figuratively. Right. So I guess we'll move on and become Scientologists or some shit like that. But so I can see somebody having that theory, but also I've never been. I mean,
but you don't even have to overthrow it. Like you're overthrowing the people. All you could do is say, obviously, this guy's lost favor. I can make a bunch. So he's probably a terrible person anyway. Who knows who he's sleeping with? And I could say, well, whatever the god's name is favors me now.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you what happens. And then hopefully you get lucky, you know, and you call when it's going to rain or when it's not going to rain or whatever.
That's true.
I don't know. Because then they still have their faith, but
you might be right.
It's not attached to a person. I don't know.
But then Chaco was also the center of all this trade and everything like that, so they could have been hanging around.
Yeah, so where the fuck did that all go?
Well, so, I mean, the people that came there to get their turquoise and drop off their parrot feathers were like, well,
if I need parrot feathers and Chaco's gone, where's my distributor for parrot feathers?
Exactly. But the people that brought the parrot feathers on their regular delivery, you know, making their parrot feather for turquoise trade would be like, wow, things are looking pretty fucking dusty around here, guys. What's happening? And, you know, the guy in the warehouse is like, yeah, it ain't gonna fucking rain anymore. And they're like, well, why don't you come down where we live? Everything else sucks, but we got tons of rain. So maybe people just kind of melted away on their giant,
right?
Yeah.
Because you have it's like a Western boon town or something like that. Like, whatever kept it sustained wasn't there anymore. I don't know. They didn't have the train, so it wasn't that the train didn't stop there or some shit like that.
Right.
But whatever it was, it had the same effect.
It was the gravy train that stopped.
The gravy train?
That's right. So
the chuck wagon?
Nobody Remember that ad?
With the dog chasing
Fucking big dog chasing the fucking wagon all around. So now we got to go back to the Navajo. Now the opening, the cold open, which I'm sorry that I stammered my way through it a little bit.
You have
but
no idea what the unedited version is like.
To be fair, I was trying to transcribe what a super old man was saying, and that was not easy. But the point of it is the Navajo story is that this bad Anasazi guy, who none of them liked, for some reason convinced them to come gamble with him. And if they lost, then he would just get to keep them as a slave. And they didn't really say what would happen if he won. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, they did that in Supernatural. It was a poker player and you played for years.
Ooh.
So he would buy more years for his life by beating you in poker, and you'd leave an old man.
Huh.
Which for us wouldn't be a big deal because we're already old men.
Too late. So there are Navajo stories that say Chaco was a place of evil. And they did terrible ceremonies. They practiced witchcraft, which was a big fucking deal for Navajos. They were not fans of witches. And they made a substance called corpse powder.
That sounds tasty.
It's fucking amazing.
I'm going to put some corpse powder on my oatmeal.
Yep. My grandmother, one of the spices in my grandmother's spice rack was actually MSG. It was labeled. It had its own label. Jesus Christ, how the fuck are we alive? I saw a thing on TikTok the other day. Oh, why do Gen X people look so young? I'm like, because we're made of secondhand smoke. What do you think? We're preserved. We don't look good. We look like a fucking weird wax museum. So the Navajo felt like they're all witches. They're making corpse powder. They're gambling away and cheating at gambling and winning all the Navajo people. And all of it was a bunch of bullshit. And sort of crossing over to that. And remember in the first episode, we talked about the fact that even though the Navajo would talk some shit about the Anasazi, and the name Anasazi it means ancient enemy in Navajo. They were the first people to name them. And it's a bad name, not a great name. And if you're one of the current Puebloan people, one of the Puebloan tribes, you're like, well, that's a shitty name. We should call it something else. And that's where the whole, you can't call them, there's nothing that anybody has settled on.
Were the Navajo enslaved by the Asazi?
No, they didn't. They weren't even there when the
their ancestors weren't there.
Yeah, no, the Dene. That's who, to my understanding, the Navajo were talking about their ancestors, the Dene, who were the ones that were getting caught by the
basically, because that's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like they use a game as this for the story, but
yeah,
it's one big group enslaves another, and then they decide we got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But they don't usually do the whole fucking trick of, well, how about this? I'll win your people, and then you'll be the slaves. Ha-ha.
Well, unless their society just started to decay, and the Navajo started to build themselves back up.
Well,
and when they were stronger than the Anasazi were like, we better get the fuck out of here.
So now here's where it all goes controversial.
Da-da-da.
Because even though we know that Chaco ended in the second half of the 12th century, they didn't know where they were. But in 1969, a physical
69.
nice a physical anthropologist from Arizona State named Christy Turner.
Probably blonde, long hair.
Now it was an old bald dude. Just had a name Christy. I don't know why. So, did you know? No, you know what? I can't. I have to stop doing this. We have to start doing videos that are like 7 minutes long because there's a ton of stories that would take that long to tell. Anyway.
So, you heard it first. 7-minute videos.
God damn it. So, this guy, Christy Turner, was looking around and he was studying stuff, and he's like, well, wait a minute. There's another problem here, because I don't necessarily think that it was just drought, because I'm finding a lot more than a little evidence of cannibalism amongst the Anasazi. And he has evidence, and it's very, very controversial because the modern Puebloan people are like, well, fuck off, stop. You don't know that our ancestors were cannibals. You just know that that all this other stuff happened. Now,
but if they were, who cares?
Well, the Puebloans do. They care.
Yeah, I guess they care.
You know, so like, but you can't just go, okay, well, they were cannibals, and then say, and all of these things happened as a result of it. Now, we already did the Aztecs, and the Aztecs ate fucking people. They chopped off a lot of heads, but they were specifically explaining why they were doing it. And it all had to do with religion. They were ruthless as fuck, but they were like, well, what are we going to do if we don't do it? A meteor is going to hit us or some shit like that. So that's what they did. To insinuate that a society is somehow based on cannibalism, and that cannibalism was used as a method of social control. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the extrapolations that some of the pro-cannibalism people put out there don't make any sense to me. Like, oh, why else would you have built all these buildings if you weren't afraid that you were going to get eaten? Well, they didn't fucking eat the people that built the pyramids, and they weren't slaves either. So, like, some people just fucking getting a paycheck. And sure, they don't want to get eaten.
Human nature doesn't change, right?
No.
If there was cannibalism, it was, in all likelihood, a small group of people at the top who got to fucking occasionally eat some either people from a neighboring town or, you know, low class people from their area. Like it's not like they were like stores selling fucking human meat.
That was human meat. What you have just savored. Now, so the evidence that they found. Okay, so Weatherall, who was the original cowboy guy, and he was looking at stuff in up north first, and he found the evidence of battle. You know, seriously bad. You know, busted up skulls and bones that had fucking spear points in them that the bone had grown around because the person didn't die. And it's like, can you imagine, like, I got my fucking COVID shot. My arm don't hurt. My arm hurts. So what happened to me? Well, I got a spear that my bone grew around.
See that? It's still sticking out. It's fucking
for fuck's
nuts.
sake.
And it was a big stone. It was stone too back then.
Yeah. So they were knocking people's faces off with these big stone axes, but it wasn't the up and down axes. It was like the front, like I think they call it something else, like a maul. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Sure. Why not?
Whatever. If you were going to picture, I'm going to make something out of rock that's going to just cut your face off and leave the rest of your head there, then you can just decide what your best design would be. Send your best designs to strangefulthings@gmail.com. The winner might get theirs 3D printed. So
odds of winning 1 in 3 million.
They found this evidence, and it was, number one, they found bones that had little cut marks on them. Little cut marks like they were butchering marks, because they didn't have any metal. All they had was stone tools. So if you were going to shave the meat off bones, it was going to take you a long fucking time and be super annoying. And you had to make a million little cuts with your sharpest rock. So that's a pain in the ass. They also found that there was stew polish on some of the bones.
Who?
His name is Stew Polish. No, it's not Stew Polish.
Stuart Polish.
Not only were some of the vertebrae broken open, like they were trying to get that sweet, sweet marrow out.
That sweet marrow?
Yes, but also the polishing part is, all right, well, we're going to throw this, because they didn't have crock pots, so they had to keep stirring their pot. So if they put stuff in there to slow cook, they had to keep stirring it. And the stirring would rub the bone against the side of the pot, which is what they call this polishing thing. And it's a well-known thing. So they're all like, well, fuck, they were cooking these people. And but the theories as to why, this is the part that's got me weirded out. Now, the idea that they were telling everybody that lived in this giant city that built this giant city, well, if you don't fucking do it, we're going to eat you. That just doesn't track for me at all.
No, that's silly.
It doesn't. Because you wouldn't tell the people that are carrying the heaviest things that you have in your society, the big rocks that you're building your buildings with, that they could just fucking throw at you and break your bones and run away. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
No, that's like a movie plot. That's not real life.
Now, enter the Toltecs. Now, the Toltecs were the oldest. They weren't the Aztecs or the Incas or the Mayans. They were before all of them. And they were fucking badasses down in Mexico, but they were very well traveled. So there's a bunch of people that think, well, maybe some fucking Toltecs came up there and they found this place and they said, well, this is pretty great. You know, it would really, really tie the room together if we fucking ate some of you. So why don't we teach you how to do that? And they think, well, maybe the Toltecs had something to do with it. And their little piece of evidence surrounding that is that they have found at least one skull that has ground down teeth on purpose, decorative tooth grinding. I'll give you an idea of how fucking tough these people are. There was no dentist. There's people right now that get their teeth ground down so that they can get all kids do it. It's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. And it's a terrible idea. But they go to a dentist and they get knocked out and the dentist does it. Not, hey, yeah, here comes Smiley with his special rock and he's going to be the one that fucking grinds your teeth out. But anyway, they found this skull that was very Toltecian in its tooth work, which could either mean that, yes, the Toltecs were there, but only one of them died, or somebody that was coming to get some feathers or turquoise or any of the other bazillion things they had in Chaco was like, hey, you know what? How much can I get for this crazy skull with the fucked up teeth? That's also a possibility, at least in my mind.
Well, if they're saying that it's possible that drought and stuff helped dry these people out, isn't it possible that the drought happened and they didn't get driven away, but they stayed and ended up resorting to cannibalism?
Well, so I actually think that might be possible. In theory, you could say, well, fuck, this
Like a
isn't
big
working
Donner
out.
party.
Yeah, but this isn't working out. Things are bad. We got to get it. We got to get things rolling here because we've obviously done something to piss the gods off. So we're just going to try this other thing because they probably would have heard about it from the Toltecs, even if the Toltecs didn't come and do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's
Right.
so that's very, very possible. Also, the other thing is, I don't know if we know for sure that it was even themselves that they were eating. They could have just been catching other people and eating them, which granted is not a ton better, but
well, that's what the Aztecs mostly did, right? It was people they captured. That's what they were. Well,
so
as long as they had enough of them.
Yeah.
If they didn't have enough and they still needed to get to 20,000.
Yeah.
You know.
So the modern day, like the Hopi are like, yeah, they may have whittled the bones all down and cooked them up and everything like that, but you don't know for a fact that they ate them. Which even I had to go, what are you gonna, like?
They could have just used it to make a nice broth.
Yeah, I don't know why you're gonna go to all that trouble if you're not gonna eat it. But then in the fucking craziest,
nice consomme,
some scientist figured out. And this is when you start to go, well, you know what? This is stupid. We should stop funneling all this money into scientific grants and whatever like that. Some fucking guy figured out how to do a test on ancient poop to tell if it was a person who ate another person. If there was a person in their poop, this test would tell.
Yeah, but what if you ate like some of your dead like lip cells or something like that?
Yeah, I think it had to be a lot. You mean, no, we're not going back to autophagia.
Yeah, what about
no,
chew my nails?
No.
My toenails?
So, anyway, the Hopi are like, well, fucking, why don't you just shut up and leave it alone? And
1,000 years ago, let it go.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And
white people want to forget shit from 50 years ago. Well, this is like 800 years ago.
They left Chaco. They went to Mesa Verde.
Right.
And they were obviously on the defense because they had to, basically Mesa Verde and the other places like it were like a fort. But the difference between, they say Chaco was abandoned, but Chaco was vacated, as in when people left Chaco, they took their shit with them. You know what I mean? Mesa Verde, which was the first place that Wetherill found. Remember what he found? He found sandals and plates and shit like that. Like people left in a fucking hurry. Mesa Verde was abandoned. And nobody has any fucking idea what happened except in 1275. Now remember, 1150 was when Chaco emptied out. In 1275, there was a much more serious drought. Like way, 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 way worse. And there was also 1275, around 1300, this new religion that focused on worship of ancestors started taking root further south. So there is a theory that, number one, this new place we have is in a drought that was worse than the fucking one we left that our grandparents told us about and how shitty that was. So obviously whatever we were doing religion wise isn't fucking really working out for us. So we got to knock that shit off. Plus, what those guys got going down there doesn't seem so bad. Plus, it's raining, so let's go. And so it could just be that they fucking left and assimilated with whoever they showed up with.
Right.
And I wish that I had a more satisfying answer from a scientific standpoint. Or you can believe the story from the beginning that the fucking guy with the pretty wife who had the animals help him won all. Not only did he win all of the Dene people back, but also won all the Anasazi, because Kenny Rogers, the Anasazi gambler, Nahelsba,
on a train bound for nowhere,
couldn't believe that he was losing and gambled them all back.
Yep. Makes sense to me.
In a continent full of fucked up, terrible fucking things that have happened to the people that were here first.
You talking about Africa?
Well, no, North America too, but yes, every place, every place is terrible. But the idea that these folks came together and built something so fucking amazing, and then because they just didn't have the fucking foresight to build the Hoover fucking dam, they got wiped out. That's A, not their fault. B, it doesn't diminish the stuff. C, how badly do you want to go see this place now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how cool it must be. I mean, there might be a lot of walking though. But anyways, I hope
if it's a national park, they probably have ramps somewhere.
Jesus Christ.
I'll get a rascal.
Holy shit. Yeah, fucking ramps.
What about my kid?
God. Jesus. I'm going to see how are you going to get up in the one where you got to climb up 30 feet just to see it? I ain't going to see that one. I'm going to buy a drone.
Yeah, I'm not going to see that one. I have a drone. I'll bring my drone on the vacation.
Bring your drone over to the house. Because guess what? When the neighbors behind me get noisy, I'll start droning them.
Fly it back there.
Yeah. Is that illegal?
I've
probably.
crashed that thing so much. Probably, yeah.
Yeah, probably. Anyways, listen, everybody. The Anasazi people were fascinating. Their accomplishments were astounding. Please look them up. Learn as much as you can about what they actually did. And don't fucking worry about where they went, because it's none of your business. Like, just leave it alone. If they want to be a lost fucking people, let them be lost. That's all.
How do you know they want to be lost?
Because if they didn't, they'd be fucking saying something. Right?
I don't know. It's not like, there's $1 million in it to the guy who comes in and says, "Hey, I'm Anasazi." Now that would get you to admit to it.
Hey, they're paying those the History Channel or whatever. No, the Learning, whatever those fucking channel is, are paying those idiots on that show Moonshiners, and that's completely culturally worthless. So
yeah, and I think TLC is not allowed to use the Learning Channel as their name based on its content.
Jesus Christ. So, all right, everybody, we're going to have another episode next week because we're not quite done with November and Native American Heritage Month. Please, please, please do not let listening to this show be the only thing that you do for Native American Heritage Month. Learn some shit, and you know what? I don't have to tell you how fucking terrible that America as an institution has been to so many people. Just don't look at that part. Just look at cool fucking shit that indigenous people did before everyone started fucking with them. And just be happy with the fact that we still know that this stuff existed and that there are still people that are alive for us to talk to that have stories about it, like the guy I quoted at the beginning. So I hope that you are happy with the way we wrapped up this mystery that remains a mystery. And I don't know what else to say.
Those always piss me off on Discovery Channel or something, like, search for the giant squid. With no fucking giant squid.
Yeah, but see, I wouldn't do it that way. I would never say, oh, well, we're going to find out if blah, blah, blah. And then at the end go, no. Nope.
Search for the Anasazi.
Yeah, I didn't say.
The result of our search was we didn't find it. Yeah.
I'm gonna reveal the outcome of our search. Not in my office. So allmylinks.com/strangeful things. That's how you find us, right?
Yeah, that's how you find us. Yeah, I think these are an amazing people, and I think everything you said was right. You know, we need to, I said you only learn so much in school. They only have so much time to teach you, and it's other stuff that they focus on. So, you got to take it upon yourself to learn shit like this.
And then after that, you can focus on the fact that every fucking dumb politician in the world seems to think that only their grandparents said cliches. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what the where I grew up, when I met my wife, I was working at a deli, and the deli was owned by this guy who had a brother who was a lawyer, and his son is now a congressman in New York.
Yeah.
He is putting forward a bill to recognize the accomplishments of Christopher Columbus.
Oh, sweet Christ.
This is 2021.
Does he mean the film director?
I love Home Alone. Those first two Harry Potters are my favorite.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's
when
what I'm
little
going
kids
with.
And can't act, those are the best. Yeah, that's who I'm rooting for. Chris Columbus. That's what he meant.
All right, everybody. We're coming into the holiday season now. We're steaming down the track. I'll do my best to try and find some horrifying Christmas shit.
We got to find a real Silent Night, Deadly Night, or Black Christmas, or something like that.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Some guy who terrorized sorority chicks at Christmas.
Well,
based on a true story.
Yes, that's based on a true story.
Keep on flapping, everybody.
Bye-bye.